Hello and welcome to our live Employers Masterclass session from the Change in Education Group. This is a great opportunity for you to get a look into the world of work and get some expert advice from our employers. Today I've got a fantastic guest. I'm really excited to have Ian Hammersley here with me. My name is Amos Mudra. I'm a careers advisor here at Change in Education. So just to tell you a little bit about Ian, there's so much I could go on with, but just to tell you a bit about him, Ian Hammersley is Director of Global E-Commerce Agency, SmarteBusiness, together with his brother Mark, have been at the forefront of e-commerce from day one. Together they run one of the UK's most successful e-commerce agencies. SmarteBusiness is famous for building its biggest clients from ground up. And again, together with Mark, Ian also co-authored Ultimate Guide to E-Commerce Growth, 7 Unexpected KPIs to Scale an E-Commerce Shop to 10 million plus. Wow. How does that work?
We wrote the book in about 2018 now. And, to be honest, we didn't think anyone would read it. We wrote it because we enjoyed what we were doing. And it was a way of getting out of our minds onto paper what we were doing. And I have to say, I think I've been doing this for nearly 17 years now. And, we were busy beavering away in a basement of a textile mill in the centre of Manchester. And the things that we were saying to our clients, helping them grow, we assumed that everybody was doing that. Everybody was saying the same things. And it wasn't until we wrote the book and we published it and people started reading it all over the world. People started saying, hey, the stuff that you're saying is actually groundbreaking. It's game changing. It's stuff that no one really talks about. And I think we were guilty of just sat there myopically focused on what we were doing. And the book has really launched us as a brand and as a business, where, it just gives credibility because, if I phoned up somebody and said, hey, we're an e-commerce agency, come and build you an e-commerce, website, we're nothing, we're a commodity, there's no credibility. But now with the book and it being a big bestseller, we're able we get invited to speak at conferences, and we get businesses inviting us up, and it's a very different conversation. It really is. So it's been a really good thing for us, that book.
There's so much I want to ask you about this book. And with it being World Book Day as well today, happy World Book Day to you. So great having an author here with us on this special day. There's so much I want to ask you about the book, and we'll get into that a bit more later on, and also how we can get hold of that book as well. Tell us about how SmarteBusiness started. How did the whole thing start, and what's your role in this whole jigsaw of this amazing business that's been scaled to help businesses all over the world?
Yeah, well, I graduated from university. I set it up in my final year of uni. And I'm now 40, so that was 18 years ago. And it was nothing at the time. It was just me on my own. There are certain types of businesses that you can set up that are, very little barriers to entry. Anybody can set an e-commerce agency up. There's no kind of recognized, skill. You can just do it, and that's what I did. And I started it in the final year of university, and I said to myself, right, if I make a profit in the next 6 months, I'll carry on. If I don't make a profit, I'll travel around the world. I'll take a year off and I'll go around the world. And 18 years later, I'm still here. I haven't gone around the world, and it's the same business that it was. And now we've got just over 40 staff. We've got an office in New Zealand. We've got an office in Manchester, and we've got a small office in the Philippines as well.
Isn't that ironic? Your ideas, your business, your book is going around the world, but you yourself, but technically you have traveled around the world, haven't you?
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's one way of looking at it. So, this idea came in your last year at university. What was the story before then? Who was Ian at 16, figuring it out and
it was
deciding his path?
I think in terms of we had a family business that was baking. We had my parents and the family. My dad was the third generation of a family bakery business, so they had shops. So brother and I, we grew up with business chat around the dinner table. Every day we were listening to our parents talking about which staff had not performed very well and how the takings for the day and what orders and deliveries were coming on Saturday. And so it just, we didn't realize it at the time, but that was kind of training for the business. And I just thought there was something in me that just knew that I wanted to start my own business. And I knew that was what was going to happen, even from ages 14, 15. It was completely in my core, and I'd always had that in my mind that it was going to be. I wanted to start my own business, and I think really you should do something that you're interested in. And I was interested in the digital technologies. I was interested in photography and graphic design and digital technology, and it kind of just fell into it, because you're going to remember, like 18 years ago, no one knew anything about online. It was in its infancy. No one. There was no rules. It was so new, and we were really, we got into the right thing at the right time. We were riding a wave, really. So it was an effortless thing. I had no risk. I was living at home with my parents. I had no rent to pay. I was very lucky that I could do that. So there was no, if I did it now, I'm now 40 and I've got mortgages and I've got, you've got invoices coming out of your ears. It's a lot harder to take that jump. Whereas, when I was 22, it's nothing, is it? It's just it doesn't matter. Nothing to lose.
Yeah. I think you've made some really interesting points. Firstly, it was something that you enjoyed. It was innate within you. You felt that, I need to go into business. This is what I want to do. Being, trained with your parents, always supporting you and showing you that, how to run a business. And that goal and dream was always there. But that could have been any business. Obviously, you went into IT. But where did the vision come from? Where did you see that if I'm going to do something, it's got to be IT related? Because you could quite have easily gone and opened a shoe shop, but you didn't.
Yeah.
You went down that route. Why did you do that?
Actually, I looked at the family business. There was my father was a third generation of that business. So I would have been the fourth. And, looked at that business, and actually it was my dad that said, the problems with the baking, you're creating a product that's perishable, i.e. you have to get up at 2:00 in the morning and bake the bread. and what you bake, you have to sell. If you don't sell it, you throw it away. You can't store it on the shelf. So I was like, that's interesting. About do I want to be getting up at 2:00 in the morning, and that was quite interesting. But actually, it's funny how in the business that we've got now, we always laugh, because my dad is still the FD, and my brother works with me. He's the chief marketing officer, and whenever we're talking about strategy of the company now, we always go back to the bakery, and we go, well, what's the equivalent of this, this complicated challenge, so right now we're really, really busy, and we've got so much work. We've got, everyone's getting a bit stressed out. It's been COVID, e-commerce has just gone through the roof, and we're saying, it was a bit like going back into the bakery and having all the bakers run around banging into each other, spilling all the flour over the place. It's a bit chaotic, and what you need to do is go, hang on, no, right, you're doing this job, and we always explain it in this sort of baking analogy, which is a bit odd, but it obviously comes from the family business. But I think generally I fell into it because I was interested in it. If you're going to run a business that's something you're not interested in, it's hard. But if you're running a business that is something you're passionate about, it isn't business. It's fun. You just want to do it. It's very addictive. It really is. There's something about having a business that it's the most rewarding process, because you're creating something from nothing, and that's the exciting bit. Is that feeling that you're implementing some little new system, and you can sort of see that feeling of sort of making something and seeing it grow. It's indescribable, of the emotion, of the satisfaction that gives. It's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling to see it, scaling.
It's like your baby, isn't it? It's your child.
It is. You've got to watch that.
Growing, yeah.
You've got to watch that, because it will consume you, and it doesn't ask for time; it takes it. You've got to be so careful that I think there's no such thing as a free lunch. It's tough, and you've got to be resilient. And I don't think it's about being smarter than anyone. I'm certainly not smarter than anyone. But one thing someone asked me once, what was the key thing that an entrepreneur needs to have, and it's resilience. And it's that you keep going. You don't give up. And there's something in me that just, oh God, the amount of times that we've been in a really tough meeting, and we've been like beaten up by a client because we've failed. It really hurts, but you keep going, and you know that you have to learn from it. You can't just, the buck stops with you.
That's it, isn't it? It's, taking that responsibility, but then again, persevering is very important. And, thank you for sharing that with us. I think that's so important for our students watching this to understand. And a lot of our students here today, Lambeth College IT students, for these guys, this is the current, revolution, the industrial revolution of today's age. It's the tech revolution. When you look at the likes of the Elon Musks, the likes of the Bezos, Zuckerberg, and, the Bill Gates, these guys are the industrialists of today. And yourself in that category as well. Talk to us about, where we are today in terms of, technology. Where are things going? Where do you see things in the next, 5-10 years?
Yeah, well, we're in, the internet has revolutionized anything beyond, our wildest imagination. And really, with what's happened with the biggest change is because we're an e-commerce agency, so we only do things. If you buy stuff online, that's what we do. So what we've seen is obviously the high street model declining and the high street changing, because people are naturally buying things online, and that's the biggest change. Where the business model 10 years or 20 years ago was where you walk down the high street and there'd be a shop that would sell, tennis rackets, a sports shop. And, that was a business model because, that sports shop existed to serve that town that was, 20-mile radius, and, he didn't have to worry too much about being super competitive with price because he was the only sports shop in that town. Whereas online, it's a bit like going into the Trafford Centre. Trafford Centre, as you'll know, is a massive shopping arcade in Manchester, with 300 shops in. That what it's like now is online. It's a bit like going into the Trafford Centre, and every shop is selling the same tennis racket, same sports equipment. There's 300 shops in there, and the consumer can choose which shop he wants to buy from. He can see, within a second, he can compare the price of that tennis racket, and he can go anywhere. And that's what online's like. So, the business models have had to change, because, you can't, that sports shop that exists in that little town can't take his business model online, because it doesn't work, because no one's going to buy from him because he's twice the price as everyone else. So, it has changed that. But then, the high street, unfortunately, it's naturally going to happen. The high street's changing. It's become much more about experience centres, people going in for coffee and have a drink and, going and, doing a fun bit of shopping. It's much more about that. Whereas what it was, you wouldn't go into Argos now in the centre of town, park your car, walk 20 minutes, get a 50-inch telly on your shoulder, then walk back to the car, get a parking ticket on your car. It's
typical Manchester city centre on your way to the Arndale.
It's stupid. You can't. It's just stupid. You're going to go and order it online, and it'll come free delivery next day.
Yeah.
It's just the way it's going to go. You can't. Convenience is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But I think generally, with the cool thing about the IT industry, and this is pretty fun, is that when you're young, you are seen as being much more. You're naturally into digital and IT technology, so it's an area that age is not a barrier. There's certain professions, industries like, I don't know, architecture or accountancy or structural engineering, where you kind of have to be a bit older, a bit more experienced, to elevate. You can go in as a young person, and you get respect immediately from big companies because you're young, and therefore the technology and IT is changing so quickly. You know how to use Instagram, you know how to set up probably a Facebook ad. You're in that world, and so you can go like TikTok. TikTok is like an amazing advertising platform now. Businesses don't understand it because they're too old, they're too set in their ways. You can get young people coming in and go, right, I'll set your TikTok account up for you. And you can't do that in any other profession. So it's fun because young people stand a really good chance of making a very quick accelerated career. And they're never going to be short of work.
Yeah, definitely. Again, really good advice there. Looking at those different areas, whether it's TikTok or LinkedIn or whichever social media platform. What makes your business stand out? Why do these big name clients come to you?
Yeah, well, to be honest, the thing that helped us was writing the book, and so we do podcasts as well. So we've got about 9,000 that listen every time we do a podcast, and over the month it's probably about 30,000 people that listen to the podcast. And the book as well, we've sold over 20,000 copies, and that is the thing that made us stand out. Because the problem is with a lot of e-commerce agencies, they unfortunately are considered a commodity. Because if you're delivering a technical solution, the clients can often, it's a black and white thing. You're going to build a website, it's going to have to do this, and unless you are taking a client on a journey, so we don't sell, a technical solution. Say, hey, it's £20,000 and we'll do this. We say we'll take you from 3 million online turnover to 10 million online turnover. That's what we are delivering. And part of the technology is allowing us to do that. But then there's the strategy side and there's the marketing side. And it's, we always sell that journey, 2 to 5 million, because it takes you away. Because if you break it down, you just become a commodity technical supplier, and you can always get it cheaper. You can always go and build a website. You could go to outsource it to Sri Lanka for $500. You have to sell, the end result.
Yeah, a whole journey. It sounds a lot more than what a lot of people might have thought it was. SEO. Just get somebody to, like you said, in the other side of the world to just do a bit of marketing on your part and get clients on board. But it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more complicated. It's a journey. It sounds like almost like a personal trainer getting you from an unhealthy state to fitness. Talk to us about that journey. Where do you start with your clients? How does the conversation start?
The funny thing is that the e-commerce in our industry, there is so much BS, bullshit. Let's say it. There's so many shiny little bits of distractions, shiny bits of paper, we call them. Everyone's saying, "Oh yeah, you implement this little module and it'll revolutionize your sales," and it's all complete and utter rubbish. And one of the key things that we do is we tell people we know what to focus on, because we've been in it so many times. We've seen so many different e-commerce businesses scale. And also we've seen so many e-commerce businesses not scale, ones that have just flatlined. Why are they not growing? And, why are these businesses growing? What were they doing? That, they went from 2 million to 5 million to 20 million. What did they do? Why did that happen? And why did the ones that went from 2 million and they stayed at 2 million for the next, 5 years? What was it? And it's all about the basic maths of it. So we essentially say, okay, right, you're doing 2 million now. Your traffic is this. Your average order value is this. Your conversion rate is this. So it's basically you get 1,000 people that come to the website, every day. One person buys and they spend £100. And you say, in order to get to 10 million, you need this amount of people to come to the site, this amount of people buy, and they need to spend this amount of money. And that then starts to help you understand fundamentally what the maths are. Because the growth, it doesn't happen fun. It doesn't just happen. You have to understand what the maths are. And it basically, when I say maths, it's literally it's dead simple. It's like, how many people come into the shop? So if you were a bricks and mortar store, like a retail store, and that's the easiest way to think about it. You go, well, how many people came in the shop, and how many people bought something, and how much did they spend? And that's it. That's e-commerce. There's nothing else. It's exactly the same as someone coming into a shop. But people like to complicate it. People like to think it's really confusing, but it's not. It's very, very simple. And our job is to get more people to come into the shop, more people to buy, and more people and to spend more money when they do it.
That's a fantastic analogy. It's as simple as it gets. Get more people in, more people to buy, and spend more money again. So again, it goes back to those same principles you had from a very young age. It's keeping it simple, stick to business, in the way that it's about what comes in has to be more than what goes out. And I think, especially with, where things are today, it's a lesson for all of us to take as well individually. And it starts with working on yourself. How important is personal development to you?
Oh, it's massive, because where the businesses now, where the UK is, we're very much a service-led, economy, aren't we? Go back to the Industrial Revolution, where we were building steam engines and mills. It was about labour. What's the businesses that England is famous for now? It's service businesses, and it's about people. So if you think about we don't have any stock. We don't have products. It's our people are our product. People is what we sell. So, personal development is absolutely key, and it happens all the time. You've got to create a culture of, personal development. because I always think that, if someone's in a difficult situation, and they're thinking, oh, I'm really happy, I really don't like where I am in this business right now. They can cope. Did you hear that? My internet went unstable.
No, it just broke up a little bit. But yeah, if you can make that point for us again. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I was saying that I think with personal development, it's key. And I think, if you're in a difficult position with your career, or, you're in a job, you don't like, you're unhappy, or your business is stagnating, as long as you've got a rope or a ladder to climb out of, and you can see that, and that's through training and progression, and you can cope with a horrible situation. If you've got no ladder or rope to climb yourself out of, then you start to feel really despondent. And I think personal development is that rope in our lives. Through in anything, if it's just you're in your education, you're at university or college or school, or you're in a business, you're older. I find that all the time. If as long as you've got that feeling that there's a path out of this, and that comes through knowledge and education and experience. I'm lucky because the more we teach, the more I learn. So we do loads of consultancy for e-commerce businesses, and every day, we learn more and more and more, and we go, wow, that's really fascinating how they did that. And then you go and tell someone else about it, because you go, I've just had this meeting with this client, and they've just done this, and it doubled their sales. It was amazing. We should do that. And so you learn so much, and it's funny, and you always underestimate the knowledge in your own head. What you think is common sense. You think everybody knows it because you know it, so you don't value it. But then, and that's what my brother and I did. We thought everybody knew what we were doing. We thought it was common sense. Everybody knew what the conversion rate should be, and what the average order value should be, and how you drive traffic. We thought it was obvious, but it was only we knew it. We assumed everyone else did, and that's all we've done. When we're now very lucky that we charge people for what we know is common sense, and it's only because we've just been there and done it so many times.
Yeah, well, to say common sense isn't common, is it? So yeah, debatable there. We'll leave that there. I've got a question from Rebecca who wants to know. She's asked via LinkedIn, would you have done anything any different?
Yes. Well, I think when I've done anything different, there's never a day that goes by when you think I was a bit crap there. I could have done better. And that is, you're never going to get it right, ever. And you can't. There's one thing that I heard. It was the innocent smoothie.
Yeah.
Drinks.
Yeah.
This guy, he said his analogy is that when you're starting a business or you're starting a new idea, you can't worry too much about getting things wrong. He said you push the plane off a cliff and you build the wings on the way down. And I heard that and I thought, oh my God, that's so awesome.
So when you got your back against the wall, basically, yeah.
I am famous. I'm famous in the business for doing that. And sometimes it gets you in trouble. Yeah. But other times you're able to, because most of the time the problems they're never as bad as you thought they were going to be. You don't have to know everything. You just have to do it. You just have to push that plane off the cliff and figure out how you're going to fly it.
And you'll figure it out really quick, won't you?
Yeah, you do. That's it. So, yeah, God, I mean, really, anyone who says they know what they're doing is a liar. It's you look at in a business and you go, oh wow, they've really sorted themselves out. They're so slick. But you go inside that business, of which I go into inside many businesses, it's chaos. There's stuff wrong all over the place, and it's just, you judge. It's the same with people. You judge your inner thoughts and your inner doubts against the external image that someone wants to project about themselves, and it's not right. You've just got to go for it. Don't worry, just try it.
Live with no regrets. Go hard or go home. A little birdie tells me you've got a nice little toy that you enjoy taking out on the seas. Clearly, that must have cost a few quid. Now, obviously, in order to afford something like that, it takes a lot of hard work. So how important is hard work in your opinion?
Yeah, well, you know what? There's two things. I mean, you've got to have fun. You've got to be. There's got to be a fun reward of it. You have to put the hard work in, and and that's why if you pick a job that you enjoy, it's easy. But there were times where you've got to put the effort in. You've got to stay up till midnight, and you can't let that client down. I remember times in my early career where all my mates were going out having a few beers, and sometimes I would go out and have a few beers, and then I'd come back at midnight and I would start working because I couldn't let that client down. I just couldn't do it. I had to deliver. So there was times like that where you just got to sacrifice yourself. But then you've also got to know when, and I had a conversation about this week, where are you a busy fool? Because sometimes I mistake being busy for being successful. Yeah. And actually, I could go, oh my God, I've worked flat out all day. But actually I haven't done anything that's
you've not been productive in that day.
So that's something. I think, that takes a while for you to figure that out. But initially when you're starting, you've got to do everything. You can't be precious. You've got to get in there, roll your sleeves up. Don't worry, and just get in there and suck it up.
Yeah. I mean, you come across as someone who dreads going to bed and looks forward to waking up. What do you enjoy the most about what you do?
Yeah, I think I'm very lucky because I work with so many clients. And the lovely thing is that occasionally you get these game changes, where you'll say something to a client and you'll go, right, this is how you're going to scale to 10 million online. And they'll look at you and, what I've just said may just be completely obvious. And it normally is. And occasionally you just get that, you just know that their mind has just gone boom, and they've had that like eye-opening, game-changing thing that's just come out, and that feeling that you've just revolutionized that. And I have had times where I've had meetings with clients, and they've said to me after, they said, I couldn't sleep because I was so excited with what you'd said and how it just went bang, 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 and times where they've said they have to have the meetings in the morning so they can calm down in the afternoon. Because if they have a meeting with me too late on, they can't sleep. So I think that's it. That's the fun stuff. And there's lots of moments like that. There's lots of bad moments too.
But that's life, isn't it? You've got to take the good with the bad, I suppose. So we've talked about your book. Where can we get hold of it?
Well, it's on Amazon. If you just Google the Hammersley brothers, or anything like that, the book's actually called the Ultimate Guide to E-commerce Growth. So if you search for that Ultimate Guide to E-commerce Growth for the Hammersley brothers, then you'll see it there. But if you just go into Google and Google the Hammersley brothers, I think there's an online copy that you can download for free, that's probably the best way of doing it rather than paying for it.
Wow. So guys, you've just been directed to a free online copy, and get into Ian's head. How lucky are you guys? So, make sure you go onto Amazon and get that book, especially being World Book Day today.
Yeah.
I like the way on your website, it's very slick the way you've put the link to go into Amazon. Can you direct us to your website? It's so easy for people to follow the link, which will then take them onto your book. But give us a website again so that
the company, the agency that I run is called SmarteBusiness. So that's SMARTE business.
Okay.
BUSINE. You can't spell business.
Yeah, so while they're Googling business, then they can put Smarty just ahead of that. Okay, fantastic. Yeah. What final words would you like to leave our audience with? These IT savvy students, so keen to hear from you.
Yeah, well, you are in a very exciting industry. The world is your oyster. Have confidence in what you want to do. And I think it's probably to, if you pick something and niche, I think you have to niche in a way. If you go into, I'm going to do a bit of ASP, a bit of PHP, a bit of Ruby on Rails, eventually you'll have to pick a sector of IT that you think, I'm going to get really good at that. And then you become a specialist, and then you can name your price in terms of your career. You'll be headhunted. If you pick the right area, off you go. You're on a journey. And I think that's it. So sort of, think about what area of IT you want to be into, and then zone in. And work out your niche. You've got to focus on an area. You can't do everything.
Yeah. Don't be a wandering generality, be a meaningful specific, as somebody once said. Ian, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. I think the one thing which sticks with me, which I want to share with the audience from what you said today is, there's so much that you said, but really I think the biggest thing that we can take away is it doesn't matter which part of IT that you go into. You might not even go into IT, but one thing is for sure, you need those ethics, that work ethics. You need to work hard. And ultimately, I think, from this conversation, for me, what's made you so successful is you provide a service, and that comes first. And whether you were in your dad's bakery, you were providing a service. And you might not have realized it then, but the skills that you were picking up was ultimately putting your client first, the customer first. And that's being transferred to your e-commerce business. And that's why, in my opinion, from this conversation, I believe it's been very successful. So providing the service, guys, is huge. And it doesn't matter which age we're in, as long as you put the customer first and you provide something for them, ultimately you'll succeed. So, Ian, I just want to say a huge thank you for spending the day here with us today here at Changing Education. It's been an absolute pleasure. Guys, please watch this video again. Make sure you like it, subscribe to our channel. Go onto LinkedIn. We want to know your reviews. We've put a post up there, so please, in the comments, get your feedback back to us. We'd love to know. What an absolute joy it's been to have someone like Ian Hammersley here with us today.